Good morning. Welcome to California Seismograph. We're glad you're with us this morning. It's November the 9th, 2018. I'm here in the office with my partner Dean. He's the technician here. We were both working on the seismograph this morning. Welcome, Dean. How are you this morning?
Doing good.
Okay. And we noticed that we had three earthquakes happening, which is already four minor earthquakes by now. Let me quick take you here. At quarter till 7, 6:45 this morning, we had a 3.7, which earlier we had a 3.1. It said here it is downgraded to 2.9 by now. And within a span of just 10 minutes, we see four earthquakes that have occurred at the same location. Shallow earthquakes, as a matter of fact, as you see, 7 or 5 miles deep, just 5 miles deep. And the fourth earthquake was 3.8. Where's my mouse? Oh, here. 3.8. All at Aguanga, just a few miles away from Aguanga. As a matter of 5 miles away from. The depth
Oh,
is
it's right here.
right
That's
there.
right there.
Oh, as a matter of fact, I've set the distance from Aguanga is 5 miles, but the depth is just
Barely under a
yeah,
mile.
barely under a mile, or just under a mile. So anyway, what is interesting, Dean, as a matter of fact, earlier we talked about this, that Anguanga is very active. This is Desert Sun talking about it just lately, making a statement. What is it like to live in California town that experiences thousands of earthquakes a year? And we're talking about not even 1 or 2,000. No, we're talking about almost 7,000 earthquakes this past year. It's an interesting place, Anguanga, and it's interesting to see this morning uh, three or four major or not major minor earthquakes. This is an interesting development. Many aftershocks in Angoanga. It's been swarming, obviously. Let me take you quick to the map here. The Salton Sea area here is Angoanga. At the Salton Sea area here, by Nyland, we have mud pits. And that's something that's been moving as much as 60 feet in a day. And that movement has always been there a little bit at the time, but nothing like what it is doing at this moment. Interesting, just very interesting. As a matter of fact, I read a couple of articles about these mud pits and the movement, and it's really rare to see that much movement for that area in regards of those mud pits. So next, historically, Southern California has had earthquakes, and we have a map here for you to show that we know of writings. Earthquakes have occurred in these areas. As you notice, maybe the magnitudes aren't on here, and the reason being is the science of Earth movement is very new. It's especially back then there were no instruments obviously to take readings, and this all this comes from previous writings that we can read on, or some excavations that were done, and we can tell that at certain time layers we see big movement in the ground. As a matter of fact, California is waiting for a event occurrence here again at the Salton Sea area. They're monitoring this very closely, and at this map you can see a better layout of what has occurred in the last century and century half, about starting in the middle there, 1812 at Wrightwood, the 7.5. The next earthquake in the top left corner is 1857. You know, I wasn't around, we weren't around then, but which was a 7.9, a significant earthquake. And then Kern County in the middle of that. So interesting layout there, how two earthquakes happened, then one in the middle, and then later in the 1990s we see two major earthquakes, the Hector and the Landers, or the Landers and the Hector quakes. Uh, Before that, the Silmar quake was there, then, but they were quite smaller. I mean, a 6.6 and 6.7. But then lately, just 8 years ago, we had this Baja, in Mexico, just across the border by us. In 2010, we had this earthquake, the 7.2. I remember that earthquake, and you probably do too. It was shown on TV with the mountains in Mexico that kicked up so much dust. Remember that, Dean?
Yes.
So anyway, I just wanted to show you this, that this area here by the San Andreas by Salton Sea is locked up and has not had a major occurrence of any quake. And that's something to keep an eye on. That's actually what we are all expecting it for there to break first in the Southern California area. On top of what is already happening in Southern California, we have major fires going on at the moment around LA. And our prayers are with the people who are left behind in Thousand Oaks. It's 48 hours, just less than 48 hours ago, this horrible shooting that occurred there. So, thank you for being part of California Seismograph today. We wish you a good day. God bless, and see you soon.